So I said um, that the Rand must foot check, get out, foot check, right? And I meant it, and I will mean it until everyone has heard it, and until people start taking it seriously, and until there is an agreement between the SADC countries about how their currencies are sustained. Namibia is a unique case. We gained our independence from South Africa, the neighboring country. We gained our independence in 1990. They gained their independence in 1994. So they took longer to gain independence. Not the same with us. But as they left with the peace agreement that they had with Plan slash SWAPO, obviously it was about you get the power, but we remain with our fingers in your pockets, taking every coin that you get, and it comes back to us. Now in South Africa, they are fighting for economic freedom, right? Now South Africa is a giant in terms of natural resources, and that's something that we don't necessarily compete with them on that scale. But we have wildlife. Our wildlife is one of our best tourist attractions, and yeah, it's even on our money. Some of the wildlife that we have, it's even on our money. But you cannot go into SA and go buy anything with our money. They'll reject it. You have to go there and then change your Namibian dollar into Rand, right? And that is not it's no way is that right. Basically, maybe some facilities might say, oh, this money is worth something, and put it in the till, but most no. And then there is this, I heard it from someone. It was an elder. I was talking to him about stuff while I was in the hospitals, so we spoke, and he said he knows that grapes are harvested in Namibia, exported to South Africa, and then they are monopolies. I'm talking about ShopRite, Pick and Pay, you name it. They are monopolies. Package grapes that we sold them. They package the grapes, and then they send it back to their monopolies, Spar, Pick and Pay, ShopRite, you name it. Most of the shops that we have here, which happen to be run by South African citizens, including the huge chunk that the BS has in our mining sector. And it's about emancipating ourselves. This is why this is important. This is more meaningful than removing some statue, right? This is taking the Rand and putting it in the till, and it's still considered as valuable in our country without the exchange. So if the Rand falls, then we are affected. and they want to talk about petrol prices going up, yada yada yada. So that means our petrol prices are also affected. Now this line, this false bond, is what they are trying to fight on their national on their national motherland. As a matter of fact, the EFF was born from this kind of uh, thinking, whereby they want to nationalize the mines, uh, mainly after Americana, where you have workers that are working in the most volatile environments. Some get sick, from all the dustness. Some die, and the families are never the compis the family is never constipated by the mine, and because the mine is private, there is little that the government can do. But we are at an advantage here, where if we meet the land in the middle, or if we decide to completely move away from the land, we will have more autonomy in our market sector, and that will lead to us having the influence that we didn't have. If workers go on a strike, there is very little that a manager can actually do. They have to call South Africa and ask the way forward, because they don't have that power, right? So if the rand if we cut off the rand, we'll have more autonomy. It will be the second phase. After the war, the fighting, the propaganda, the psychological manipulation of blacks and whites and colored and bastards, we will finally meet economic freedom, and that will be one of the stepping stones for us as a nation toward economic freedom and prosperity. Because poverty is man-made. That was something that Nelson Mandela said. I'm not sure whether he did say it. I don't really trust these picture quote things. Anybody can write anything and just put on someone's face. So I'll just go by quoting that particular thing about slavery being man-made. I think this is actually something that Karl Marx wrote. I've read some of his work, and I think in some Pan-Africanist people's work, and I think, honestly, I think that this is true in terms of Namibia, because our services are poor. That is something that can be resolved by men, and when I say men, I'm speaking about women, I'm speaking about men, right? I'm not discriminating. Everyone has that potential, right? So now you want full economic autonomy, and you can't really have that if you have the rand, which has this string on our. I'll just beep that, and it's pointless in the end, right? Because everything good that happens to us does not exactly show at our stock exchange. uh Dollar valuation, it does not. Why it doesn't is because we are tied up by the rand. Please, everything that has happened, we have our third democratic president, and our second president got the Ibrahim Prize, or Yeah, I think whatever that the what? It's hard to pronounce, but we all the Abramovich prize for defending democracy and peace. We didn't have another leader that would come up and completely ignore um, democratic ways of doing things, which by would be to start a political party that maybe can contest the existing political party. That is what they mean by peace, because we did not have others that came out with guns and all of that stuff, intimidating the state. As a matter of fact, the state was so scared of this happening, right, that when the affirmative repositioning corporation tried to you know uh, to speak to the government in a language that perhaps showed how serious the activists were, right? That it's not a bluff, right? Because social justice is a must. Social justice is one of our stepping stones as well to economic freedom and prosperity. But indulging in this worshipping of a country merely because Nelson Mandela happened to live in that country, someone who did not really do much for Namibia. He did more for Western countries and all of those war-ridden countries where he tried to be a medium using his influence to sort of speak to them about peace and the importance of peace. And he had his charities where he had his prison number as the mark of his charity organizations, just like the affirmative repositioning organization. It's all about social justice. The Rand Voetjek, right? And I choose the word Voetjek mainly because it's catchy, right? And when I say it's catchy, it's slightly derogatory, but it's not my fault that that word is derogatory. It's the fault of the former regime that this is derogatory. So in us moving forward we have to move away from the Voetjek being a hurtful word to any decent, self-respecting adult. That the word Voetjek would bring out feelings of you know some sort of anger. um it's just what it is. I choose it over the rand must go, because by saying the rand must go, there is less power and less of a narrative towards that word. But when you say the rand must Voetjek, there is more narrative to that. There is a historical context attached to that. So the rand must Voetjek. I am not saying the citizens must also Voetjek. I am not saying South Africa must also Voetjek. I am not speaking about closing borders and trade routes and nothing. No, I'm speaking about equal trade. We cannot trade with South Africa equally if we are not economically emancipated from them, especially in their time of crisis where they cannot even produce enough electricity for their people. They are load shedding. They have men with guns in their parliament. This is all bad when it comes to the international community looking at SADC. What do they see? They see a volatile state that could blow up anytime. Alright, I'm not saying it will. I doubt there'll be, an uprising, a civil uprising that will lead to some sort of civil war or anything. I don't believe that it will get that far, but I do believe that their currency will keep going down in value, and that will affect us because our trade routes are based on the rand. They don't even have to come here and acknowledge our laws because we use their money, and we don't need to use their money. Seriously, we don't. They are tourists when they come here. They can still come here. A bunch of people have family in South Africa. That's okay. Go visit your family. Uh, no problem. Even I could go to South Africa at any time to go see my family too. I have a niece there that I haven't met actually. Yeah, it will be good. But the Rand Voetjek has nothing to do with that. This is about economic emancipation. It's about business of the state. We cannot forever be non-traders. When if they are in here, if our managers and the boards and whatever of these monopolies here in our country have more autonomy, more self-direction, then we can get grapes that are not exported to South Africa but are bought straight by our shops, packaged at a local facility, and then sold in the shops. There will be that justice because the arm of the government will be able to finally reach in their pockets as well. The government will make a stand. Consumer rights will be more respected, and more so, our local products would actually get onto the shelves. And this is a huge paradigm shift from what most people would think to take on or to challenge. But we are one nation, and they have to respect that. Our heroes are not celebrated as heroes by them. They barely know them. Right? So, enough. The government is transforming, and in that transformation, economic emancipation should be something that the citizen can see coming. It should not be political rhetoric. And President Hage Geingob is showing this by actually going to those community meetings, being there himself. Right? And with that kind of interaction, with that kind of dedication, he is not politicizing this. He's not politicizing it. He's taking it on as what it is, a social cause. But the second phase, is economic emancipation. And this will emancipate people's minds as well. When they say, I am Namibian, it will actually mean something to them. When they go over to South Africa, or when South Africans come here and they have to change their money into Namibian money, people will actually, feel that that feeling of actual emancipation. But we cannot be so tied to South Africa that we have a lot of our people going bokeh. The bokeh are going to the World Cup, yada yada yada, biting their nails and so forth. But when it comes to our Namibian rugby team, no one cares. No one. So, gaining much more control over our own economy, I'd like to hear the benefits of the Rand versus Namibian dollars moving away from the Rand. I'd like to hear that. The benefits of it. To say we cannot sustain ourselves, I think is a lie. I think South Africa is actually getting more from us than they would like to admit. Anyway, salute.